1983, in the snow of the Russelheim test track, where GM's new international rally challenger, the Opel Manta, is seen for the first time. The Manta flanked by its successful predecessor, the Opel Ascona. On the international scene, the Manta would showcase the likes of Henry Toivonen, also of Vatanen and of Frekkelaan. But in British rallying, the Manta was synonymous with Jimmy McRae and Russell Brooks.
It wasn't one of these super fast ones. It was a car that bore a resemblance to an ordinary production model. And I think particularly for the enthusiast, you know, a front engine car, rear wheel drive, was a very spectacular type of rally car to watch, and it's a classic in its own right, yes.
McRae in the Manta, British Open champion in 1984.
It is the best Group B two-wheel drive, normally aspirated car, there's no doubt about it.
Manta Magic at its best. We're with the great Ari Vatanen, Manx Rally 1983. Ari at 100%, trusting to Terry Harriman's pace notes and a little bit of luck.
Flat left over brow, 100, flat right maybe. 70, flat left. 70, absolute right. 150, unseen easy right. 50, easy left. 50 grid, 100. Oh.
Harriman's relief at moments like that has been matched in later years by Mike Broad's composure alongside Russell Brooks. 1987 National Breakdown Rally, Rickledale, snow and ice, and around the corner a very rapid descent if you leave the road on the right.
Right, keep going. First gear. Start it.
Mike, you spent so long in the passenger seat of that car. Was that typical of life in the Manta?
No, not really. Russell was very good to me over the 4 years in Mantas. I think probably 4 or 5 times only I can remember. A couple of times that actually stopped us, but generally quite safe and got away with most things.
Were you actually as calm as you appeared there?
I don't think you honestly realise the implications of what's going on at the moment. You're concentrating so hard that you want to get to the end of a stage. It's not until you come and look at films like this that you realise, gosh, you know, something could really be nasty amongst this. But generally, you're concentrating so hard to keep the driver cool as well that, you know, you're probably cooler than you actually are.
Despite things like that, what kind of affection did you generate for the car over the years?
I think it's been a super car to drive in. It's quite a comfortable car because it's a large car inside as well as outside. It's got a very long wheelbase so that it rides bumps. It's a very smooth car, excellent on tarmac. And I remember in the Chevette days, which was a very small car, and you were very sort of tightly packed in the car with all the machinery around you. I always looked at Ian Grindrod with envious eyes, thinking that it'd be nice to sit in a car. And it was a very nice, comfortable car to drive in, as rally cars go, but a little hot.
And it was in the heat of Corsica in 1983 that the Manta made its international debut. No storybook start, Guy Frekkelaan forced to retire early on. But Frekkelaan went on to take the French Open Championship in that first year and repeated the success in 1985. The 1983 Acropolis Rally heralded the Manta debut of Finland's Ari Vatanen. And a fine debut it was, Ari bringing the Manta home in 4th. On his home event, the Thousand Lakes in Finland, Ari was up to 3rd when he retired with a camshaft failure. And an accident in San Remo meant that Greece was his only World Championship finish. His fellow Finn, Henri Toivonen, crashed out of the Thousand Lakes, but underlined the promise of the Manta with 4th place on the San Remo. Providing great support, Scotland's Jimmy McRae with 8th place in Greece. But Jimmy was more at home in the British forests. Jimmy was behind the wheel for the Manta's first event on the Open Championship, the 1983 Welsh Rally. Eighth place in Wales was followed by 2nd place behind Stig Blomqvist in Scotland. Bertie Fisher was also looking impressive behind the wheel of a Manta. Bertie 2nd on his home event in Ulster, but once again behind Stig Blomqvist. The Manx Rally in 1983 drew its usual high-quality international entry. Henri Toivonen and Ari Vatanen led the Manta Challenge. Ari and co-driver Terry Harriman providing some breathless in-car action.
70 over skid mines, turn K right maybe. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Opens over 50, 20 left. Flat right, 50. Flat left and flat right maybe, 50. Flat right maybe, 30. Easy left, easy right, 50. Easy left maybe. Very long flat right maybe. 20, easy left. And easy right over jump. 70. Flat left, 30. Easy right, 20, easy left maybe. Opens over 70, 100. Easy right, 70. Flat left maybe. 30, what's the surface, easy right. 30 brow and turn narrow hairpin left.
Despite that kind of effort from Vatanen, Toivonen was quicker. Victory for Toivonen, Vatanen 2nd, the first international Manta 1-2. In 1984, the Open Championship wasn't the only target for GM. The Irish Tarmac Championship attracted a host of Manta drivers, Bertie Fisher, Billy Coleman and Austin McHale among them. Billy Coleman took the title, helped by his most famous victory here on the Circuit of Ireland.
And Billy, who will, I would imagine, be very glad to be with your brother.
On the Open Championship, this is Jimmy McRae in the Welsh forests, sporting a new livery and a damaged front end. 1984 was also signalling the start of the great Manta rivalry between McRae and Russell Brooks. Brooks now in a Manta after his years of success in a Vauxhall Chevette. Co-driven by Mike Broad, he'd been beaten by McRae on the opening round. Neither finished in Ireland, but here on the Welsh, it's Brooks 2nd, McRae 4th. In Scotland, once again, the advantage was lying with Brooks. But disappointment for Russell, losing 14 minutes when he hit a fire break. So McRae was ahead of his rival, but with no real cause for celebration. McRae's 2nd place was the 4th time he'd finished runner-up on his home event. All the more reason for a determined finish to the season in the mists of the Isle of Man. Both McRae and Brooks were poised for the title on the 1984 Manx. Brooks hit a bridge, the battle was over. McRae in the lead was heading for the title. Bertie Fisher was also rounding off a fine season, taking second place. But Jimmy McRae was a massive 11 minutes ahead. Jimmy McRae, with co-driver Mike Nicholson, takes the 1984 British Open title, the first major international title for the Manta. And in the Manta rivalry between McRae and Brooks, it's advantage McRae.
The actual sort of situation was that Jimmy and Russell were teammates, but really hard rivals. And I think the press hyped it a little bit that they were antagonistic against each other, but I don't think they were. The nice thing, as far as I was concerned, is that in both years, the co-drivers, Mike Nicholson and Ian Grindrod and myself, we got on like a house on fire, and it made it that much better. And I think, you know, we had our own battles for getting the rallies. It didn't really matter what was happening outside our little battle, because you knew whoever was going to beat either of McRae or Brooks, you were in a chance to win a rally, and that was good.
And that friendly rivalry continued into the 1984 RAC rally. This was one of only a few World Championship rounds entered by GM. The four-wheel drive Group B cars were starting to dominate the world scene. The GM entered endurance events like the Safari, where Rauno Aaltonen finished second. Here on the RAC, McRae and Brooks were locked in their private battle. Brooks coming in a magnificent 5th, McRae 7th, and Bertie Fisher completed the team performance with 9th. The 1985 season started again in the forests of Yorkshire, the National Breakdown Rally, Brooks keeping up his RAC form. McRae went out early on, so Bertie Fisher took third place behind Brooks, who was second. And Cyril Bolton helped add to the entertainment. But for Russell Brooks and Mike Broad, it was a good start toward their aim of regaining the Open title. On the circuit of Ireland, the aim for some was the Irish tarmac title. Bertie Fisher, a front runner, but Austin McHale was to take the championship. As for Brooks and McRae, the intervention of team orders put a temporary halt to their rivalry. Russell settling for second behind Jimmy to enhance Jimmy's prospects in the European Championship. On the Welsh, the fierce battle was resumed. Brooks leading most of the way, but punctures dropped him behind Malcolm Wilson, the eventual winner. McRae also had puncture problems and finished 4th. In Scotland, maybe Jimmy McRae would at last claim that elusive victory on his home event. And Jimmy was ahead of Brooks from the start. Russell was hampered by an ankle injury, but both cars were going superbly. Then problems hit McRae. He went off down a bank, damaging the front wheel and the front suspension, and lost 8 minutes. McRae now third, behind Brooks. For most of the event, despite odd indiscretions, Bertie Fisher was able to keep in touch. But Brooks, struggling more and more against his sprained ankle, was unable to keep the Scotsman at bay. McRae finished second, Brooks third. Ulster, McRae leading again. Brooks close behind in second. Bertie Fisher 5th. And Austin McHale 6th, ever closer to that Irish tarmac title. Brooks gets 3 seconds ahead of McRae, and then team orders come in again. Brooks takes victory from McRae, so reversing the situation earlier in the season on the Circuit of Ireland, and setting up quite a showdown for the title on the Isle of Man. The Irish rivalry remains equally intense. Bertie Fisher keeps 5th place, and Austin McHale, taking the tightest possible line, is 6th. On the Isle of Man, all McRae needed was 2nd place to take the title, and taking the lead early on, he looked safely on course. Brooks, right behind, is trying everything he knows. With McRae overheating, Brooks closes in. Then 3 stages from home, McRae breaks a shock absorber and Brooks is through. Disappointment for McRae, but triumph for the Mantas with Bertie Fisher 3rd. It's a Manta 1-2-3. Russell Brooks, co-driven by Mike Broad, takes the 1985 Open title. Once again, Manta power decides the championship. And the Mantas took the team prize on the subsequent RAC rally. McRae 7th, Brooks 9th.
Turn right. Port left. To the arrow, turn bad right, sorry, hairpin right, through a gate, very tight, very tight. Right, bad left, key right.
In 1986, the sport changed, the big Group B year. What sort of disadvantage was the Manta?
Oh, a big disadvantage. The one advantage it had was its total reliability. We knew we could get around all the rallies. And, for instance, the Circuit of Ireland with 600-odd stage miles, we got 2nd when all the supercars started abandoning the rally because of various reasons, and only 1 beat us. And so the reliability saw us through, I think, to a super result of 2nd overall in the championship.
And it was a result to be proud of. With McRae in a Group B Metro, Brooks was now the spearhead of the Manta Challenge. Second in the championship then for Russell Brooks, and once again the Irish tarmac title for Austin McHale. The Mantas were providing quite a challenge to the Group B cars. The rules would change again, but in international terms, the Manta era was coming to a close.
It started life as a potential world beater. Obviously the rules and regulations overtook it in terms of supercars, but looking at its record, it was an excellent European Championship car. It's been a supercar for British Championships, obviously. Specifically on tarmac, it was probably the car to beat, even when the big supercars were around. And now, of course, although it's lost its life in terms of the outright team performances, they will be filtering down to the clubman, and the clubman will find it an easy car to drive and probably an easy car to keep.
And on the national scene, the Mantas had already had great success. For Phil Collins, victory on the Manx stages, the Mueller and the Lindisfarne. And keeping the Mantas in the headlines, other drivers like Bill Doby, Vince Wetton and Andrew Wood, all helping add to one of the most successful stories in British rally. '87 saw a return to Group A regulations. What really were your expectations for the Manta in '87?
Well, I think we knew we'd only had 3 rallies, and we really wanted to see the car go out on a high. And for the national breakdown, probably that was the one we feared most because of the weather. And with four-wheel drive up against us, if it snowed, and it did, we were going to have to work very hard. And as it happened, it came right, and Penty had a very good result, and we were second.
In the season that the Mantas were due to be bowing out of international rallying, Penty Auricola had at last got his hands on the car he'd coveted for so long. And on the national breakdown rally, he made it count. Penty was leading home Russell Brooks for a triumphant Manta 1-2, and they said this would be a four-wheel drive event. In fourth place, Andrew Wood. And this wasn't quite the best moment of the rally for Pete Slights, but he came in fifth. On the Welsh, it was a clean sweep. Brooks first. Auricola second. And Wood third. Something to celebrate, but international regulations had prevented the Manta from being used on the circuit, the Scottish or the Manx. So Ulster was the swan song for the international Mantas, and they were still flying. Bertie Fisher coming a spectacular second. Austin McHale, fourth. Penty Auricola, fifth. And Andrew Wood, sixth. But what of Brooks and Broad, the men who had been at the heart of the Manta's domestic success story? It was their last rally in the Manta, and they were to go out with a bang as well.
200. Flat right, 100. Flat left over crest, 500. Prop shaft. Prop shaft's gone, destroyed. See if we can pull it in on the left.
Definitely out with a bang. What exactly happened when you and Russell got out of the car then?
Well, the first chap that came to us from the farm on the left there was a man that we saw 3 years previously on the first stage of the Circuit of Ireland when exactly the same thing happened. And those are the only twice that it's ever happened, and the same man was there. And he rushed up and said, I was there the last time. And I said, look, I don't want to see you on another rally because you're obviously the biggest jinx going. Go away, or words to that effect. It was a dramatic end and a very sad end to a really good try for us to win the last rally in a Manta.
A great car that's produced some great memories for you then.
It's been a supercar and 4 very successful years for GM Vauxhall Opel. I'm only pleased that I was part of the history of the Manta.